All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're cracking open the official guide to one of the biggest questions of our time: how in the world do we manage the risks of artificial intelligence? Let's get into it.
I mean, it feels like it happened overnight, right? Generative AI went from being this far-off sci-fi idea to a tool we use every single day. It's helping us draft emails, write code, create these unbelievable images from just a few words. It is changing everything about how we work and create. And it's all happening at, well, a breathtaking speed.
But with all that incredible power comes a really critical question. As we start weaving these tools into, our jobs, our businesses, our society, the big thing becomes trust. How do we make sure the AI that's helping us is actually safe, that it's reliable, and that it's truly working in our best interest? Well, luckily, we're not just flying blind here. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, you'll hear them called NIST, has put together this super detailed guide. It's called the AI Risk Management Framework, and that's exactly what we're going to use today as our map to understand these new risks.
So, to really get the solution, you've got to understand the problem first, right? And the thing about generative AI is that it is absolutely a double-edged sword. Now look, risks like bias in technology, that's not exactly a new problem. But what makes generative AI so different is its power to take those old risks and just amplify them to a massive global scale, while at the same time, it's introducing brand new challenges that we're really just starting to wrap our heads around.
So NIST has already done a lot of the heavy lifting for us by identifying and defining these risks. Let's walk through three of the biggest ones, the ones you are almost certainly going to hear about or even run into yourself.
First up is a word you might not know: confabulation. Now, you've probably heard this called an AI hallucination, right? That's where a model just confidently makes stuff up. But I gotta say, I think the term NIST uses is really smart. They prefer confabulation because hallucination kind of makes it sound like a human mind, which is pretty misleading. It's a small difference, but it's an important one. And this isn't just about the AI getting a history question wrong. As this quote from the NIST report points out, the stakes can be incredibly high. Just imagine a doctor acting on a patient summary that was written with total authority but was completely made up. The potential for serious harm is huge. The key isn't just that the AI is wrong, it's that it's so convincingly wrong.
Okay, next up is the risk to something called information integrity. This is all about how incredibly easy it's become to just pollute our information world. Generative AI makes it so cheap and effortless to create convincing-looking fake content and then just blast it out everywhere.
And this is already having a real-world impact. We're not talking about hypotheticals. A single AI-generated fake image that claimed that there was an explosion at the Pentagon, that was enough to cause a short but very real dip in the stock market. That's how fast a digital fake can cause actual economic damage.
And the third major risk is harmful bias. See, AI models are trained on these enormous piles of data from the internet, and that data reflects, well, us. It reflects all of our existing human biases. The danger is that the AI doesn't just copy those biases, it can actually concentrate them and amplify them, essentially baking discrimination right into its programming.
Here's a super simple but really powerful example. If you go to an AI image generator and you type in a picture of a CEO, what do you get back? As NIST points out, these models often spit out images that way underrepresent women and minorities, which just reinforces these old, harmful stereotypes about who gets to be in charge.
So, there's a quick map of the danger zones. You've got confabulation, which leads to deception, threats to information integrity, which lead to disinformation, and harmful bias, which leads to discrimination. These are the big challenges that we need a game plan for.
Okay, so we've mapped out the problems. Now for the important part, the solution. How do we build AI that we can actually trust? This is where that NIST framework comes back into play.
The whole idea here is to be proactive. The goal isn't to wait for things to go wrong and then try to clean up the mess. It's about building trustworthiness into the AI system from the very, very beginning, from the first line of code all the way to how it's used out in the real world.
So, what does that actually look like in practice? Well, the framework is built around 4 key ideas that all work together in a continuous cycle.
The framework breaks down into 4 key steps. Govern, which is all about setting the rules of the road. Map, which is about finding the potential potholes. Measure, which is about, figuring out how deep they are. And manage, which is about actually fixing them. And what's really important is that this isn't a one-and-done checklist. It's a loop that's designed to keep running as the tech keeps changing.
First up is govern. Think of this as the foundation of the whole building.
Before you even start developing, you set the ground rules. Who's responsible for AI safety? What are our policies? It's about getting everyone, from the engineers to the CEO, reading from the same playbook on responsible AI. Next, you map. This is where you put on your detective hat. You look at your specific AI tool and you actively hunt for the risks. You have to ask, okay, if we use this for customer service, could it become biased? If we use it for medical research, could it confabulate? You're basically trying to find out what could go wrong before it actually does. So, once you've identified the risks, you can't just stop there. You have to measure them. This is where you really put the AI through its paces. You run tests, you track its performance with actual data, and you get feedback. Because let's face it, you can't manage a risk if you don't know how big it is or how often it's happening.
And finally, all that data and testing leads to the action step, manage. Based on what you've measured, you make a plan. Do you need to build in new safeguards? Should you change how the AI is used? Or maybe the risk is small enough that you decide it's acceptable. This is where the really important decisions get made.
Let's make this real with a quick example. So first you map a risk. Your AI might confabulate. It might make things up. So in the measure stage, you decide to systematically check every source and citation it gives you. When you find mistakes, you move to manage. Maybe you implement a new feature that flags any claim that doesn't have a verified source. And just like that, you've gone through the cycle and made the system safer and more trustworthy.
So when you zoom out and look at the big picture, what's the ultimate point of a framework like this? Well, it's really about deciding what kind of future we want to build with this incredible new technology.
And this is so important. Frameworks like this one from NIST are not about slamming the brakes on innovation. Think of them more like guardrails on a highway. They're there to help us steer this powerful technology in a direction that's safe, that's fair, and that's beneficial for all of us, so we can get all the amazing benefits without falling into those preventable traps.
And that really leaves us with one final huge question. A framework gives us the tools, but who is ultimately responsible for using them? Is it the companies that build the AI, the governments that regulate them, or is it maybe us, the people who use them every day, who have to learn how to use them wisely? The real answer is probably all of the above, and figuring out that balance is going to be the great challenge ahead of us. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.